Welcome to Taxidermy Truths, where we discuss the ins and outs of not only the taxidermy process, but the influences on the hunting community as a whole. With over 25 years in the wildlife and taxidermy industry, I host open conversations with artists, experts, and industry giants. From sustainable utilization to shipping rates, we dig into the reality of the experience after the safari and hear real stories worth remembering. Hi there, my name is Doug Cocroft and welcome to Taxidermy Truths. Today I'd like to just recap on what's happened so far this year at the international shows in Nashville and Dallas specifically. It's that time of the year where outfitters and PHs head abroad, they get their passport stamped again, and they go over to meet new clients, visit with old clients, close deals, market, whatever you want to call it. The fact of the matter is, there's a mass exodus of professional hunters and outfitters from South Africa to the United States at the beginning of January. DSC held in Dallas and SCI held in Nashville. I got back about a week ago and I can honestly say it was an incredibly enlightening trip. The market is alive, it's vibrant, the guys want to come and hunt in Africa. It's proof that Africa still is one of the great breadbaskets of hunting literally around the world. It was wonderful to see exhibitors from New Zealand, all over the States, Europe, and the guys all had great product offering to put on display. Dallas Safari Club was not as busy as I'd anticipated it would be. This is perhaps due to the move of SCI to Nashville. Nashville being a cool destination, as anyone who's been there will clearly testify, it's a lot of fun. You've got the country music, you've got good food, it's a great atmosphere. Not that Dallas isn't. Dallas has always had a wonderful community, and Texas it's an incredible market for hunting in Africa. So, going into Dallas this year, the expectation was to have a good show. I believe a lot of the outfitters were very pleased with the outcome. What we are starting to see, and this is one of the points, if I were to name 3 points that stick out in this particular trip that I've been over on, one of the points that stuck out is that the online marketing of hunting safaris and taxidermy and fishing and apparel, the online presence is growing stronger and stronger. So the shows aren't necessarily a form of marketing. It's top of mind, certainly, but it's more about closing deals that have been made in the preceding year or two that build up to these shows. So the show is a rental office for outfitters from Africa. We get the opportunity to say to our clients, we'll be at this place on this time, and we'll be able to talk through the finer details of your upcoming safari. I remember in the old days, and I looked at how many times I've personally been over to the US on these sort of trips, and I've been traveling there for the last 25 years. In the old days, the shows were about walking in the aisles, seeing incredible taxidermy, so it was a display and an absolute show, and then meeting outfitters in their booths. So this is an era pre-social media, pre-aggressive internet marketing. So back then, in the old days, the visitors to the shows would come in and they'd literally move through the booths and find something that interested them. Someone caught their attention. So the booths back then might have been more elaborate. I remember back in the day, the taxidermy was an absolute spectacle. Aisles were taken up by the most amazing displays. I remember the one display I saw a good couple of years ago was a baobab tree with the big five mounted all around it. It was amazing. And I think in those days, that was the draw card to get people in there, was this spectacle of wildlife and exhibitors from around the world. Today, it's less of a spectacle in terms of the layout of the show. There is incredible taxidermy on display, don't get me wrong, but nowhere near the scale of what it used to be. Now, we're finding that the market is investing in online preparation for these shows, online marketing, online presence. There are countless agencies out there that will book safaris for you and act as an agent for you to book. That being said and done, the agents are doing an incredible job because they are managing expectations with so much available on the internet. The question is, what do you choose? It all looks really good, and most of it looks very much legit. It doesn't look like it's been conjured, and it has good referencing behind it. So, yeah, Dallas was fantastic, and got to meet up with a lot of old clients, see a lot of outfitters, and it kind of brings the hunting community back together. We all have that common interest, and that's kind of what hunting has always been about, for me especially, is bringing people around a table that have a common interest. In terms of what Dallas's plans are for the future, there's lots of talk about the move of DSC to Atlanta in 2025. For those who have not traveled to Atlanta, I have been in the area. I don't see the attraction of the city itself. The practical side of it that I've heard a lot of guys speaking about is very big airport, very big conferencing facilities, and accommodation in close proximity to that conferencing facility and the convention facility. So I can understand why it is an option. Short of going back up to Vegas and the likes of Vegas and Reno, I don't see Dallas doing that. But by the sound of it, the research has been done, and within proximity to Atlanta is a whole new market of hunters that may not have traveled down to Dallas for DSC. This being said, Dallas Safari Club, surely it should stay in Texas. Whether I would have thought San Antonio or maybe look at something to do with Houston, I'm not sure. But the general consensus is not as positive as I would like to see of DSC. That being said, Dallas Safari Club has an incredible name in this industry and have done amazing things for wildlife around the world. Africa is indebted to these organizations, and Dallas Safari Club is right at the top of the list. So I'm sure there's great research behind this, and they've done the maths, they've done the homework, and they've planned something that is going to be positive for the general market. One thing I did hear about Dallas Safari Club is that they are planning to do a mid-year miniature convention that would cater for the Texas market to travel in and go and visit with the various outfitters that are willing to exhibit at that time of year. Mid-year in June, the problem we sit with is that's middle of hunting season in South Africa. For an outfitter to uproot and leave for a week in the middle of key season, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. That, on top of the fact that you would then have 2 trips a year to the US, the costs of traveling, moving the booth, and all the accommodations and just eating in the US, that adds up, especially at 18 Rand to the dollar. It becomes an expensive exercise. That said, I have heard that there are a couple of outfitters that are very interested in going in that June slot and possibly picking up new markets. From my side, I've never been to the US in summer. So it would be interesting to see the United States, green and warm, as opposed to Dallas, which went down into the minuses and was rather cold and sleety this past year. So that's Dallas Safari Club. As always, the organization is behind hunting. They support the industry incredibly well, and we are very, very grateful for it. From there, you had Houston Safari Club, kind of in the middle. Houston's a small show. Anyone who has been, you'll understand. You walk around in a day and you're done. Again, it's a meeting place for hunters in that area to meet up with their outfitters or their PHs and discuss plans for the year ahead. So it's not a massive event, but it is catering for that local Houston market. Then you've got Nashville. SCI this year was fantastic. All of the reports and feedback I've heard from various outfitters and PHs and clients is that this year's SCI was one of the better SCIs in the last 10 years. The vibe was fantastic. There were so many people sharing stories, comparing hunt pictures, talking about upcoming adventures. The atmosphere was fantastic. And then obviously you've got the main boulevard area where you've got incredible country music, superb restaurants, and it's in quite a confined area. So you find that we cross each other's paths regularly. This interaction is so important because throughout the year we're out in the field and we often don't get to see one another. We don't get to visit with the agents in the States or from Europe. The PHs don't often see each other because they're out in the field hunting. This brings us all together in one social setting. And then during the day, we've got an incredible convention. I did find the entry fee into SCI a bit steep. I think that could have been brought back somewhat, but that didn't seem to deter the visitors coming into the show. And it wasn't that visitors came in for one day. We saw visitors coming in for multiple days, buying a 2-day or 3-day pass. And they spent time moving around the show floor slowly, engaging with outfitters, engaging with retailers, engaging with the people that were exhibiting their great ideas and great new products. So on the whole, I would say that SCI was an incredible success. Again, much like Dallas, SCI is a meeting point in Nashville where folks can come in and meet up and plan ahead or confirm. The shows are not marketing. Marketing is the work that you do before the shows, and the show can be seen as either closing or just refreshing a relationship. But if you're not at the shows, very often it is questioned why you're not there. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Marketing is moving onto a digital platform very aggressively. But because of the nature of the industry we're in, maybe slightly conservative, there is still necessity for that one-on-one interaction and engagement. It's great to sit across the table from someone, chat about it, and share the details of the story. From a taxidermy perspective, as I mentioned, the taxidermy was fantastic. It's by no means the displays of yesteryear, of 20 years ago, but there's some beautiful work out there. One thing that I can say with absolute confidence is that taxidermy in Africa and taxidermy in the United States specifically are starting to parallel in many ways. The quality of work being produced in South Africa is paralleled with the work being done in America. This is great news because as a South African, we're very proud of what we produce in this country. But for many years it's been said that the quality of work is not up to the same standard as the United States. The United States is 380 million people. South Africa, 60 million. By virtue of size alone, the market is so much bigger in the US and therefore there will be so many more service providers. So naturally, the standards would elevate faster. That said, South Africa is producing some incredible work on the international stage. Our pricing is still fantastic in South Africa. And I think local knowledge of species certainly does come through. But again, there are some incredible taxidermists, US, in South Africa, in Europe, all over. And it was great to see these guys putting their work out on display and everyone enjoying it. Because after all, we are all there to share in the stories and the memories that we create in hunting. A couple of takeaways. Number one, I've mentioned, the shows are not marketing. Marketing happens before the shows. That's very important to remember. So anyone planning their marketing strategies for the coming year, remember, it doesn't start in September. It starts yesterday. Start marketing now, because the grounds that you lay now will bear fruit when you get to the shows. And so you start the cycle of marketing. The online presence of the hunting industry, whether it's from various booking platforms or SEO or websites, social media is massive. It's enormous. The amount of good that we can portray on social media cannot be underestimated. But I will say this, and this is more concern. Social media has the potential to drastically damage the hunting industry, the heritage that we love so dearly. If we as hunters and outfitters and taxidermists do not portray the industry in its correct light, that it is responsible, that we don't just shoot an animal because it looks pretty on the wall, that we hunt animals that are past breeding prime, that are mature, that are animals that if you take them out of the gene pool, the entire pool grows and you're not taking away from a species. So social media has the power to make and certainly to break. Use of online platforms for marketing includes social media. So a word of warning would be to use social media wisely. Consider what you post. Consider the domino effect. What could happen if that post got into the wrong hands? I know we all stand up for hunting and as being hunters, and we should never cower from what we believe in. But let's choose the higher ground. Let's take the path of showing the best of this industry. Because when we do that, events like SCI and DSC and all the rest, they thrive because people come out and they celebrate being hunters. The last point I want to bring up. The spend in the US was quite spectacular. To see visitors to the shows coming and investing in hunting, it was incredible to see. Because that investment allows us to retain the value in our wildlife. So the spend is there. I know the economy in the US is up and down, and there's a lot of questions about politics, and it's a part of the world that is wrought with ups and downs. There's politics in Africa, there's politics in Europe. Doesn't matter where we go. But when we get out into the bush and we're hunting and we're in nature, that all gets left behind. And that's what the market is investing in. They're investing in freedom. They're investing in fresh air, in a healthy lifestyle. And at the end of the day, by creating value in these animals, the industry grows and we can continue to offer this to the next generation. So the shows were a fantastic success. I personally love going back to the US. I love coming home. And like anybody, there is no place like home, like your own bed and your own routine. But every year, we have the privilege as South Africans to travel over to DSC, SCI, Houston, SHOT Show, Sheep Show, all of these great conventions that are organized with one single motive: to keep the industry moving forward. These are basic truths. This is Taxidermy Truths. And I thoroughly enjoyed the last month in the US and look forward to what the season ahead holds for everybody. Thank you.